We are recording now, and my name is Jared Sparr. I'm with the Restaurant Business Advisors Group, and I want to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Module 1, the Module on Liquor Licensing, and it's presented from the Restaurant Business Advisors Group. And before we start, I wanted to say really quickly, did you know that according to a recent study by American Express, 90% of all new restaurants fail in the first 3 years? And just want to kind of help you guys out with the Restaurant Business Advisors Group. We are a group of consultants that work together to help restaurants become more successful. So they're one of the 10% that actually do survive. And specifically for liquor licensing, could you imagine you go through the whole process of signing your lease, you do your build out, you spend all the money, you do all your marketing, you have your opening day for your restaurant, and you don't have your liquor license? It would be basically catastrophic for your business. So that's what we're going to do, is try and go through the different options you have and what you can do to avoid the pitfalls so you can get your liquor license and get your business open. Again, my name is Jared Sparr, and there we go, click that over. And I'm the founding member of the Restaurant Business Advisors Group, and I'll be your presenter today. And I wanted to make a quick introduction today for Lissa Reneker. Lissa is with she's the Retail Licensing Supervisor for the Michigan Liquor Control Commission, and prior to this position she was the Communications Manager for the Michigan Restaurant Association. So she has a lot of experience with restaurants and obviously inside knowledge when it comes to getting your liquor license. Is there, well, first of all, welcome, Lissa. And is there anything that you wanted to say regarding the Michigan Control Commission or your background that would help us out?
Well, I'm well appointed with restaurants in general, working with the Restaurant Association, running their events and all communications for 7 years. And now I've been the Retail Licensing Supervisor for about a year here at the Michigan Liquor Control Commission. And it's been a very interesting year. We are going through many, many changes, both with our internal procedures and changes to the statute and rules that control our every move here at the state. And so we have undergone many changes, and that has made some even of the more seasoned players here with the liquor licensees feel like newbies. And so I'm happy to run through this slideshow with you so that we can explain some of the basics, sort of licensing 101, so that you know where to get started and how to be successful.
That is perfect. I appreciate it. And first question, what we always have is, what kind of a license do I need? And I guess before we start with that and I ask you that question, is our goal today is to get our restaurant owners the information they need so that they can get their license and avoid the pitfalls. So with that, Lissa, what type of a license, if I'm a brand new restaurant owner, would I need?
For a restaurant business, you'll need a Class C on-premise license. This allows you to sell beer, wine, and liquor for on-premise consumption. You may also want to get an SDM license, that stands for Specially Designated Merchant. This allows you to sell beer and wine for off-premise consumption. In other words, beer and wine to go. So if someone wants to take a six-pack to go, you would have the availability to do that. A set number of Class C licenses are available for each local governmental unit, village, township, city. And this is based on the population for each of those city, townships, and villages.
So there's a limited amount.
Absolutely.
All right. And so it's probably pretty important before you even start to look for your location and sign your lease that you find out what's available in your area.
It's absolutely imperative that you find out whether or not there would be something available. It is a bit rare to find a quota license, a Class C license, just out there waiting. And more frequently, you will have to find one that is in escrow and have it transferred.
Okay, perfect. All right, so the next question leading up to it is, how do I know if there's a license available in my area?
Well, you're welcome to call the Michigan Liquor Control Commission or your local unit of government to find out if any are available. If there are not any available, and like I said, this is common, you can go to the MLCC's website and use a search function to find a Class C license that are currently in escrow, and those individuals that hold those escrow licenses may be willing to sell them to you.
All right, perfect. And the information to get that is on the screen right now. Mm-hmm. All right, so you talked about an escrow license. Can you explain exactly what that means?
Yep. An escrowed license is a license that's not being actively used in a business. They're put in escrow by the licensee for any number of reasons, whether they're remodeling because they had a fire or a flood, or they've simply gone out of business. The MLCC's website gives contact information for these licenses so that you can contact them and discuss if their license is available for purchase. A Class C license may be transferred anywhere within a county, and this helps you widen your search to more possibilities. So let's say you're in a particular city, you can look anywhere in your entire county and transfer that license into your city. So that gives you a much broader possibility of licenses to purchase.
Interesting. And is that something that's fairly easy or fairly common to do?
Very, very common. I would say that takes over about 80% of our work here at the office.
Wow. Okay, perfect. All right, so you had also mentioned a tavern license. Tell me how that's different from a Class C.
Tavern license and a Class C license are very similar, but a tavern license allows only beer and wine to be sold for on-premise consumption. Both may be combined with an SDM license like we talked before, where that allows for beer and wine off-premise sales. Tavern license may be changed to a Class C at any time. This is called just a change of classification, so feel free to contact any escrowed tavern license even if you're looking to also sell spirits. Or if your business plan doesn't call for the sale of spirits, you're welcome to purchase a Class C and do a change of classification to a tavern.
Interesting. See, that's something I didn't know as far as the changing the two back and forth. And as far as the to-go type of thing, that would be something that's real common today is the breweries that brew their own beer and then they sell a lot of it to go. So that would be that situation there, right?
Yep, and to be honest, the vast majority of our Class Cs have an SDM with them. SDMs are not quota-based. We can have as many out in the state as the Commission cares to. So we have, like I said, the vast majority of our Class Cs and taverns have an SDM, just so that if you have a customer that would like to take something to go, you're welcome to do that.
That's perfect. All right, so here's the big question. How much does a Class C license cost?
That is a big question. The MLCC does not regulate the cost of escrowed licenses, nor do we keep statistics on going rates. Essentially, a license will cost whatever someone is willing to pay when you're going through the system with an escrowed license. Every county is a little different. There are some counties, like maybe Livingston County, where the price is much higher than in a more rural county. Its cost is based on, supply and demand. And because it's a quota-based system, there isn't as much supply as there is demand, and that creates an issue where a price can go up. But because you're looking for an on-premise license, which is a Class C, you can look anywhere in the county, and that can help you get the price down to something that may be more manageable.
Gotcha. And this would be something, too, like if you're buying an existing restaurant, that Class C license typically would be included with it, and it's part of the purchase price, correct?
That often happens, yes.
Okay. All right, so I found an escrowed license. What is my next step?
Well, now you must begin the process of actually transferring the ownership of that license. You'll need a purchase agreement with the sellers along with all the other necessary documents and fees, and submit that to the MLCC to begin the process of transfer and consideration from the Commission.
Okay, and I guess my question is, because I have a customer who's going through this right now, and the person he's buying the restaurant from is actually out of the country, so it's been a challenging situation to say the least. So you have to have an operation agreement with the previous owner. That's correct, right?
You have to have a purchase agreement, yes, something that is signed by both parties that essentially says the seller wants to sell to the buyer for said price, and here are the considerations within the purchase agreement that both of the parties have agreed to. And yes, you do have to have access to the seller to get those signatures. Okay,
and then also if you're operating, say it's an existing restaurant, you're just transferring the ownership, and that license for the alcohol hasn't transferred yet. Are there a lot of limitations under that type of an agreement with the new ownership?
I'm not sure I understand your question completely. Can you explain that again? So you're asking if they can be in there operating ahead of time?
Yeah, and I'm sorry because I'm kind of throwing this one out to you because it made me think of a current customer that I'm working with where he just purchased the business. He has an operations agreement with the previous owner to transfer the license. So the previous owner is actually not even in the country, and he's running the business in his absence. And there seems like there's limitations for him under the agreement.
Okay, what you're talking about is what we call a participation agreement. And essentially what a participation agreement is where you have that sort of scenario where, let's say I own a restaurant and I'm looking to get out, and you come over and you want to buy it. I don't want to run it while we're waiting for a transfer, which can take 3 to 6 months. And so what we'll enter into is a participation agreement. And that agreement has to be spelled out separate than the purchase agreement and must be submitted to the MLCC for approval before you can get started in that. And there are two pathways. Once it gets to the MLCC, if the consideration to you for taking over my licensed business is 10% or less of the gross sales, it follows one pathway, and if it is greater than 10%, it follows another pathway. It's a much simpler process and therefore a bit quicker if it's less than 10%, but we don't require it to be less than 10%. But the majority of companies that enter into this just go ahead and do it for 10% or less of the gross sales as consideration for this so that it can be put through a quicker process overall.
Okay, gotcha. So that makes more sense and helps me understand what he's going through. All right, so here is the tricky question, and that is, what documents do I need if I'm the new restaurant owner trying to transfer or get a new Class C license?
Sure. That for your initial application, you'll need to submit an LCC 3011, including the third page for each member or partner in the business. This is our initial application. This is 5 or 6 pages of all of the information we need to know about you and your business and the one you're purchasing. This is the most important document. We also need to have operating agreement or bylaws, whether you're an LLC or an incorporation. We have to have a property document, whether you're purchasing the location, mortgage document, lease document, whatever it is that you have that proves that you are able to be in that location. $70 inspection fee, a local resolution, and or a police recommendation. You need police recommendation for dance and entertainment permits if you wish to have any. All licensing fees, and these vary depending on the licenses and permits you're applying for. A general Class C is $600, and if you're adding an SDM, that's $100. Sunday sales PM would be $90. Sunday sales AM is $160. So those are some of the more common amounts that you need to pay for the transfer of the license. And those who have not been fingerprinted for the Liquor Control Commission will need to submit a fingerprint card and $30 processing fee. And you can get fingerprinted at any local police station, and there are even some private organizations that will do fingerprinting for you, and you just go in and tell them why you need to be fingerprinted, and they'll fingerprint you and send the card in, and then we're ready.
All right, so that's a lot of information, and we're going to repeat the website on the last page on the summary where you can get that information from in case you didn't get it all. So I appreciate all that information, Lisa. Okay, so the next big question is, how long does it take to get or to transfer a license?
Generally, I would say it takes 4 to 6 months from start to finish. You can help this process by completing all of your forms and responding quickly to any additional requests by the Commission. You can also check the status of your application anytime by using our online status check.
Okay. Because I've heard those horror stories of, oh my God, it took me absolutely forever. So that would help them get a little bit of a timeline too, because I think sometimes people's expectations are unrealistic. Absolutely. All right, so next question is, I've heard of many changes in the Commission, and you told me a little bit about some things that are going on since you joined with them. What does that mean for a new restaurant for their application process?
There have been many changes here at the Commission with regard to the documents we require in the internal process for reviewing these documents. We've already eliminated the duplication of many forms and documents that we request. We have restructured internally in order to expedite applications. But this is an ongoing process, and we'll continually look to improve as we move forward. So be prepared to hear of even more changes.
Okay, yeah, it seems like you guys are making a lot of changes. Don't you have some different leadership over there now?
We do. We had new commissioners come in a little over a year ago, and they're taking a long, hard look at each one of our processes. And so, as they go through, you know, every time they go through one, we end up changing things a little bit. Like the participation agreements they recently did, and determined that there was a much faster way to accomplish this when it's 10% and less. And so, we've had a number of happy customers that have gone through this new process, and it's taken them just a couple of weeks to get that into place so that they're ready and can be in there participating in the licensed business before their completed transfer.
That's awesome. I mean, it just makes things so much easier. All right, and another question that we get a ton at the Restaurant Business Advisors Group is, do I need an attorney? And us as a group, we do a lot of referral services, and right now we don't have a specific attorney that we refer to. With that said, I think in a lot of cases, having an attorney who is experienced in this situation might actually pay for his own fee, but you can tell me more about that.
Certainly. We see it all. We have many that come in with an attorney. We have a lot of people who do it on their own. It's really your own comfort level. You do not have to have an attorney by any means. We have a lot of applicants who are able to apply and handle the process from start to finish on their own. You're welcome to employ an attorney if you feel more comfortable using someone who is familiar with the process.
Gotcha. Because I think a lot of people not necessarily get lost in the system, but they get overwhelmed by it, and they just kind of, that's why they don't return documents and that type of thing. So.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so I really appreciate your time. And just in a quick summary, there's a ton of resources available for new restaurant owners. And as you're going through the process, it's probably the first and most important thing you're going to do is look at your liquor license and try and get one for your business. And probably the first place you want to go to is the state of Michigan. You can go to michigan.gov/LCC. Or call a 1-866 number and make sure you push extension 5 so you don't get in the voicemail, you get right to the department you're trying to get to. You also can check with your local county to see what's available there and get assistance from them. The Michigan Food and Beverage Association is an outstanding resource as well. And of course the Restaurant Business Advisors Group, that's my group. We try and provide a ton of information for our customers, and also we try and give a lot of resources as far as referrals for our customers. So if you're looking for any type of a business situation, whether it's contracting, liquor licensing, or even POS systems, we have referral partners that we work with that can get you the information you need. And I think that's it. I really appreciate your time, Lisa.
Oh, certainly. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.